standing on the right-of-way of 2nd Street. Of course, there's not much of 2nd Street downtown, and we can certainly complain all we would like about getting stopped by trains at this intersection. But today, there's only one. I mentioned, of course, the Chicago Northwestern freight house, which was there, and I'll show you a picture in just a moment. The Milwaukee Railroad freight house was right across the street from us here, and it was, again, one of just 13 railroads lines that came into Sioux City. But here in downtown, because of the switching yards, because of the freight houses, there would have been something in the order of 50, 60, 70, 80 individual railroad crossings to cross to get from what is today Gordon Drive, was then Grand Avenue, up to 3rd Street. Of course, we don't have much automobile traffic at that time, and most of those lines had been torn out by the 1950s when passenger traffic on most of Sioux City's railroads was discontinued, or at least not coming here to Sioux City. So I mentioned the Milwaukee Railroad Freight House, which was not quite as large as the Chicago Northwestern Freight House. It was a mere 822 feet long from Jackson Street, coming within about a half a block of Virginia Street here.
How long's that been gone? There's some of it.
This photo is from 1976.
I read that. I can remember.
So unfortunately, it's the only image we have of it. So, but freight houses weren't really something to a prized photo to be taken of that. So again, we're on the little bit of 6th Street that still exists. I've got to look at my little tour so I can remember. This is probably a good time to talk about one business that's no longer in the area. If we look here at the south, to the southwest, about where this metal substation is, sub-panel, and where Connector's parking lot is. This was the this area, about a half block in size, going down about a half a block, and over a full block was the stone yard of the R.J. Barrett and Sons Stone Company. R.J. Barrett came to Sioux City in 1881 and almost immediately started his stone cutting and construction business. He was located here in 1887, and in 1887, again, here we're in Sioux City's big boom era, so he contributed building stones to a lot of Sioux City's buildings. I'll list just a short amount here. The old Security National Bank building, that's the one from 1880, that lasted from 1884 to 1893. The Bancroft School building, which is up where near Heelan is today. And subsequently, after that in 1888, he did construction work and provided the stone for all of the Sioux City schools that were built in the 1880s and 1890s. I mentioned some of these other businesses. He was involved in providing stone for the Knapp and Spencer Company. That was a warehouse building. For the First Presbyterian Church, the First Methodist Episcopal Church, the Lutheran Evangelical Churches, the Tollerton Warfield, that's another warehouse, the Warfield Pratt and Howell, which is the United Center today. In addition to that, another business I mentioned earlier, the building in the Battery Building, which was Diamond Simmons, the stonework for that he did, as well as the Farmers Loan and Trust Building, that was torn down in the 1970s, and the First National Bank Building, the one that existed up until about 1984, 1985 at the corner of 5th and Pierce. So R.J. Barrett's Stone Yard was right here.
So
Where were they getting the stone?
They were getting it from everywhere. It was mostly sedimentary rock stone, like sandstone, granite, and that's a really good question. I don't know exactly where they were getting some of that stone from, but it was arriving here on the rail yards, unloaded, and they would cut it to suit.
So he got the stone for Old Central High School.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, he would have. That was Lake Superior brownstone from up near Duluth. So he probably did get the stone for that. By then, the Sioux City Northern Railroad was open. Absolutely, that makes sense.
And what about the facade of the old Smith School? Would he have maybe gotten the stone from that?
Perhaps. Of course, that was built as a house, not as a school.
Originally.
So, I think we can keep on moving.